The Dark Night of the Soul stages. Hi, it's Carrie here. Haven't quite made it out with Betsy yet. I'm in my garden office. I woke up and I had a download, and I thought, okay, I'm just going to go and sit in my office and talk this out, because I woke up and I was thinking about the Dark Night of the Soul, and I realised that it's very useful. I wish I'd had this at the time, but it's very useful to have a map of where you are with the dark night. And this morning, as I was waking up, it was kind of downloading and coming through. And at the moment, this is early days, obviously, I can see this as kind of 6 stages. And I thought what would be useful would be to talk it through each of the stages, because honestly, if you know where you are and you've got a map, it makes you, it feels just better. Like being somewhere without a map is pretty awful when you're lost. So I thought I'd give you my opinion on what I felt had happened and each of the stages. So like I said, I've got 6 stages, so let's just rattle through them. So the first stage is what I would call the bomb blast. And this is the thing when it happens. This is the thing when you break into pieces. I've talked about this in one of my other downloads before. But essentially, it's like you die. And that is the first stage. It's so lovely, isn't it? But that's how I felt anyway. And I actually remember being in that stage and wondering if I'd actually physically died and hadn't noticed. That's what it was like. And I thought I'd add in here, during that time, some of the things that I did that were quite useful, and I'll add this into each of the sections. So some of the things I did during this time was a lot of journaling and also tarot. I got right into tarot. I'd been dabbling with it for a while, but I got really heavily into it at this stage, just because what it did is it helped me drop more into the creative part of my mind. And it does that. So it gets you into a different state instead of trying to logically thinking. So anyway, that was stage 1, the bomb blast. Second stage was what I would call the slide. Honestly, I think apart from the fact the bomb blast sounds horrible when that's all happening and you're dying, this stage, the slide, stage 2, is actually really horrible. And you can be here for ages. And I think I was here for a long time. And I think it's because I'm pretty stubborn. And this is you trying not to drop into the abyss, because you don't want to go in there. You know that you are holding on by your fingernails. And the way this felt for me was, The Lost Boys, where that film, the vampire film, it's one of my favourite films. Anyway, they're holding on underneath the railway bridge, and Michael is there, and he's with all the vampires, and they're holding on, the train's going over, and they're all holding on, and then the rest of the vampires kind of just drop, and Michael's freaking out. He's like, what? He didn't know they're vampires at this stage, and he is holding on by his fingernails, and then he just drops through the mist. That is the slide. It's like, I don't want to go there. You're really pretty useless at this stage. As I say, you're very low. It's the worst stage. You don't want to fall in there. You're kind of trying to run away from it, and at least I was anyway. And what I realised at this stage is I can't run away from myself. Everywhere I go, I'm still there. My thoughts, my feelings, it just drives you mad. So at this stage, I did a lot of listening. I love YouTube, and this is where I really came into YouTube. I listen to a lot of speakers here. So some of the people I really love to listen to are Joe Dispenza. I listen to lots of Michael Singer and Wayne Dwyer. So there's lots more people, but I did an awful lot of journaling too. But I was pretty useless at this stage. I was very, very low, very down. I just retreated a lot. I didn't really feel connected to anybody or anything. So that was the slide, and trying not to fall in. And then stage 3 is what I would call the void. This is nothing here. This is what I would call peace and surrender. This is where you drop into what feels like the abyss. And actually it's this kind of place where you accept and surrender. And it's all about not knowing what's going to happen, what's going to go on. You just fold yourself into it. And it's really useful to know how to let go and sort of surrender and accept the not knowing at this stage. So at this point, at the last point as well, I would say what was really important here was sleep and lots of downloads from my higher self, waking up with messages. So it's really important to work on that. And there's some lifestyle things I can help with around that, as I'm a trained health coach. So I'm really into all that. That's my jam. So then stage 4 is what I would call the aha. And this is like, I see the lessons, okay? And then you can start working through them. So this is a period of work, or at least it was for me. It might be different for you. But you have more energy to reflect because you're not fighting falling into the abyss. You're not like, oh, where am I? I'm in this void, this dark space. You're suddenly able to kind of be in that void, but do the work. So this is where I did a lot of shadow work. I noticed what was triggering me. I did a lot of inner child work to support myself. And again, more letting go, but forgiveness as well, and dream work to sort of really interpret where I am and how I was feeling and make more sense of it in a deeper space. So this is kind of like the inner work space where you get the time, the headspace to do it. And then stage 5 is rising, what I would call rising. This is where you kind of slowly emerge from your cave-like, womb-like void of nothingness, and you've done this work on yourself, and you know that you're now not the person you used to be, and you can't do things the way you used to do them. And so every tentative step out of this void has to be true for you. It has to be right for you. So there's an awful lot of like reflection, checking in with yourself, but also kind of integrating all of the lessons that you've learned and all the work that you've done. So it's a very slow, tentative, rising, slow emergence. Like they always talk about in coaching, the caterpillar and the butterfly emerging. It's kind of like that. And then stage 6 is the return. So this is like you've returned, you've got all your lessons in place, and a new you has completely emerged, or the butterfly has emerged. And at this point, all your changes are in place. Yes, there might be some times when you're like, oh, hang on, I did that completely differently. Wow. And you kind of surprise yourself. That's the return. That's when you've got all those lessons integrated in place and you're living it and you're moving forward as the new you. So this is how I see the dark night of the soul. These are the stages. As I say, it's a bit of a map. Some people like to use the Joseph Campbell hero's journey. You could have a look at that to help you. It's a really nice way of looking at where you are, where you might go next, what's going to happen. So it's not quite so scary. So yeah, see where you think you might be on that journey. And I would say, like, really in yourself, know that you might not go through all these stages at the same time as me, I don't know, but just know that there are stages and that you do emerge. And the whole point of this dark night of the soul is to kind of break down the old you, get rid of the things that are causing you issues so you can move forward much more freely. So remember, there is a purpose to this. It's not like endless lowness. If you're at that stage, for example, you're in the bomb blast or the slide, which is particularly difficult, just know that there are things that you're going to go through that are going to help you emerge feeling so much better and moving forward in a way that feels so much more aligned with who you really are at the core. So if this is you and you're going through this, lots of love. I totally get it. Just know you're not alone. And yeah, you're going to emerge feeling amazing.